This is another video example from karmacalculator.com to show you how to read one of the Karma Calculator readings that come out from our Karma Calculator fortunes. These are a Chinese astrological fortune method based on the I-ching and zodiac-astrology. There's a combination of both Chinese zodiac and I-ching together to come up with, you know, one of the best ways to cast a Chinese horoscope or a Chinese, astrological reading. It's a totally numerological method, and yet it's extremely accurate at times. All right, so this is an individual who's a man, and in this particular year for this individual, he got a job, and his job was a copywriter. All right, so if we take a look at this, a copywriter is a person who writes ads, and ads are used to sell products. And if you're a copywriter, your words have to be believed, because believability or credibility is the name of the game. And it's really strange because this year, his words are widely believed. He got it. That's the sentence, okay? And then basically, when you see the words, your words are believed. You're working for the General Secretariat, all right? So what you're doing here is, and he may be working for a local school or whatever, but what he was doing is he was writing ads for a number of things that teach you, like a school, how to do something. And he was a junior copywriter, and then he sort of worked his way up. So very, very well read, cultured person that year. He likes to live an idle life, writing and reading poems, commenting on historical figures, and with the assistance of his friends and teaching, he can make a living. Well, basically, what you do when you're copywriting is you do a lot of reading. You read about the product, you try to find historical examples that prove that it's the right thing to do or whatever, or at least for the products that he was selling. And this exactly captured in the fortune for him exactly what was going on. All right. So this is basically it. Now, this is also that particular year, his wife and him had a baby. And it says an old man or a child may have difficulty securing nutrition. He's not an old man. His father didn't have any problems with that. So you wonder about, the baby. Basically, they had a premature baby. They elected to have the baby a little bit early because the mother had some problems. And it was a boy. So, the fortune said it would be a boy. And it would be disaster for the mother. Well, there were difficulties for the mother. It wasn't disaster, but there were difficulties in the birth, which is why they had a premature birth or what have you. All right. Basically, you read this particular section in the Karma Calculator. Okay. Then you read this particular section in the Karma Calculator. Then you can take a look at this section. But if you have astrological transits from Western astrology or Vedic astrology, they overwrite whatever this is. And then you can take a look at what this is, all right? And this basically tells you some things about the fortune. For instance, when you see a monkey here, this monkey can actually refer to somebody born in the year of the monkey. So it says a monkey is holding an official document. It's a document he wants to receive. Well, what is that document? That document could be a job. Okay, it could be a letter from the, or a contract that somebody gives me. And usually when it says there's a monkey, actually it means somebody born in the year of the monkey. All right. Let me see. What else can we say about this? I just thought this one was rather interesting because this, he got a job that year, and he's keeping a check on his mouth because he's doing all his writings. Okay, and you have to be very careful when you're a copywriter to not say anything that's wrong, or you'll get in trouble, okay, legally. And he had to very much worry about that, so he rarely made mistakes. And so this was the fortune for the year, all right? Hard to predict what it was, but that's what it was. And he swears to me, ever since he's got this thing, he's checked past years, and he's had it now for 4 or 5 years. He says every year it's spot on. So I just wanted to show you, this is another example of how you can read this. You focus in on this section, and then you have to remember this was written, 600 to 1,000 years ago. So whatever it says in this section was written, and there's only a finite number of lines, but they symbolically represent your fortune, or your fortune fits into that pattern, from what was written, of what was written 600 to 1,000 years ago. So if it says something about royal court, course, there's no royal courts in the U.S., so you have to figure out what in the world that might pertain to, all right? And, you know, we're not having imperial exams anymore or things like that. Sometimes that means it's just a promotion. Sometimes it means, you know, it really is an exam where you work for the government or you're passing your PhD exam. You have to interpret it in light of things like that. So, for instance, I was sitting in the offices of a very famous Tia Panchanshu Chinese astrology reader a long time ago, and I asked the guy, was your reading accurate? He says, no, it was not, because it didn't do my occupation right. And I said, what's your occupation? He said, my occupation is I'm a taxi driver. And I said, what did it say your occupation was? He says, it said my occupation was a chariot driver. And I said, well, don't you realize that a chariot driver 600 years ago is the same as a taxi driver today? And the guy didn't realize that. Okay, so some people don't have a clue for how to read this, which is why I tell you, we give you many, many past years so you can figure out, okay, how to read the past years. You match it to your life. You say, I see what it's talking about. And then you use it, and you use it for the future. And sometimes it'll tell you you're going to move. Sometimes it'll tell you you're going to get married. Sometimes it'll tell you a general situation like this. You know, it's really amazing when it tells you you're going to make a lot of money. That's the year you're going to make a lot of money. And when it says you're not going to make a lot of money, that's the year you really got to be careful. Okay? So I hope this is useful to you. Get a karma calculator reading. The new year is coming up, and you'll find that this is very, very, very useful. You'll bind it and keep it and use it the rest of your life. Get a lot of years. It's really